Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks Blitz with 1 of a 9. And today I'm doing an update video for crew skills, as my old video is one of my more viewed videos on this channel. However, it's a pretty bad video if you've ever watched it, so this one will hopefully be a lot better. So to start off with, how the crew skill system works in World of Tanks Blitz is that once whichever tank gets up to 100% on its crew, for example, the M4A3E2 that I have right now, which has 100% crew. Then, once that happens, you can use the crew experience earned in battle to train a set of skills. These skills are specific to class of tanks. For example, medium tanks have Rage, Penetration Boost, Mentor, Smooth Ride, and Smooth Turret Traverse. So basically, once I get my M4A3E2 crew up to 100%, I can choose whichever one of these crew skills I want to train. Now, every single medium tank I have where the crew skill is 100%, they now work together to train this one skill, as you can see by the amount of experience that is required to train up the skill. Now, of course, you can reset this training on a specific skill. For example, say I want to reset the training on Penetration Boost because I feel like I can use the experience for a better purpose in training another skill. So what I have to do is hit this reset button down here and pay 100 gold, which, as you can see, I don't have, so I can't do it, but for demonstration purposes, that's what you'd have to do. Then you hit affirmative, and it resets the 75,000 experience. And then you can use it in whichever crew skill you want. Also, if you click on the skill you are training right now, you can hit the accelerate button, and that gives you an option to trade free experience into crew experience. So 1 free experience equals 2 crew experience, and you can accelerate the training of your crew skills that way. However, I don't do that, as I save up my free experience to use on new tank lines that are being introduced into the game. So, I'll explain to you what I feel is the best crew skills to train for each type. Starting off with light tanks, which have Hasty Shot, which gives you a 3% chance to make an accurate shot when the dispersion is 100% higher than the minimum value. So basically with that, if you're on the move, and the dispersion is as big as it usually is, you can just hit the fire button and there is a 3% chance it'll make a shot within the normal dispersion values of the gun. However, that's not very high, so basically if you tried it 100 times, only 3 of those would actually be accurate. And this effect goes up the higher tier you train this crew skill up. So, at tier 6, I'd have a 6% chance, so 6 out of 100 times I'd make an accurate shot, which isn't exactly the greatest odds. Then also you have Breakthrough, which increases vehicle acceleration if there are at least 2 enemies within a 50-meter radius from your vehicle. And as with all the other crew skills, it has a slowly increasing percentage of effect. So obviously it's quite low at 6%. So if your vehicle acceleration is, say, 5 meters a second, you will accelerate 6% faster than that, so 5.1 or so meters a second. Then, of course, you have Soft Recoil, which decreases dispersion after firing by X number of percent. Again, this goes 1 through 6. So, this is probably the best skill that the light tanks have, mostly because it decreases the time that you have to spend aiming your next shot. So this is very useful for those tanks that have huge aim times, like, for example, the T-34. Not the Tier 5, the Tier 8 premium heavy tank has a 3.5 second aim time, if I'm not mistaken. Which, that will be a big help if you can decrease it by even 0.1 seconds. That's useful. Okay, now on to the medium tanks. You have Rage, as I said before, which is, accelerate your gun reloading. Then you have Penetration Boost, which gives you a 2% chance to score a hit, where the penetration, the RNG numbers is for your penetration is 100 to 125% of the normal value. Then you have Mentor, which is a useful skill. It increases your crew experience earned in battle. However, this is more useful than the first two skills I said, but is not as good as the other two skills I'm about to show you. For example, you've got Smooth Ride, which decreases gun dispersion when firing on the move, which is quite useful for your medium tanks because you should be always moving around in the mediums. You shouldn't be camping. And then, of course, you got Smooth Turret Traverse, which decreases your gun dispersion when you're moving your turret. And if your vehicle does not have a turret, it decreases dispersion on the traverse of the gun. For example, say the Hetzer. It doesn't have a turret. However, this skill will affect you being able to turn the gun. And this one has a slightly higher variation in the percentage of decreasing. It is 2% to 12% rather than the 1 to 6% of Smooth Ride. So these two skills, Smooth Turret Traverse and Smooth Ride, are the two skills that I recommend you train up first with your medium tanks. Then I think the skill after that would be Mentor, and then whichever one of these fits your play style more. Penetration Boost is probably more useful than Rage, but then again, it depends on what tanks you play more. If you play tanks like the KV-2 more, Rage will be more useful. However, if you are like me and play a lot more mediums like the Panther, the Cromwell, it'll be more useful to get penetration boost. So now into heavies. You have Robustness, which is the skill with the biggest amount of effect. It goes from 5 to 30%, as you can see. This reduces effectiveness loss of non-critically damaged modules. So say I get my tracks damaged. With this skill, if I had it fully trained, it would be 30% less reduction to the performance of the vehicle. Then, Close Combat Master, which increases your turret traverse if there's an enemy within 30-meter radius of your vehicle. Now, this, again, goes back to the standard 1 through 6%. However, this can be useful if you have a tank, for example, like the E100, which has a low turret traverse, or the Mouse comes to mind. However, these first two skills, while they're useful, they're not the greatest skills. Now, here we get on to Firefighting, which actually has a higher spread of percents than Robustness, with 6 to 36% faster crew firefighting ability, which accelerates your fire extinguishing. This is a useful skill because you can use the consumable slot that you would spend for an automatic fire extinguisher or a manual fire extinguisher. Wait a second. I just let you guys see how much I've played this game in the last couple months. There is no automatic and manual fire extinguisher. The only fire extinguisher specific consumable you can buy is automatic. However, the multi-purpose restoration pack does include a manual fire extinguisher. However, you probably don't want to use it for that. But as you can see, this lets you be able to drop that consumable from your loadout, and you will be able to still put out fires in 2/3 of the time instead of the full time that a crew without this ability would be able to. Then again, you have Adrenaline Rush, which accelerates gun loading by 2% when the vehicle has, by a certain percent. That just happens to be the level that I have the skill trained at right now. But when the vehicle has less than 15% hit points remaining. So basically, this is designed for you to be able to take a lot of damage, but if you're facing off, you both fire at the same time, so you're less than 15% health. The other guys say at 50%. It's designed to make you get that last shot off before you go down. And as you can see, it says most useful for vehicles with high durability and thick armor. So again, the E100, the Maus, the E75, those are all tanks that come to mind. And then the final skill, which I believe is the best skill to train for your heavy tanks, is repairs. This decreases your repair time for a critically damaged module by X number of percent. Right now I'm trained it to 16%, which is level 4, and I am training level 5, which will give me a 20% reduction. This is probably the most useful skill above firefighting, which is second most useful. And then after that, it's got to be robustness has got to be the next useful skill after that one. And then probably adrenaline rush. And then you get down to the close combat master, which is nice to have, but there are other skills that are far more necessary to the game to be able to do well. So, okay, now on to tank destroyers. You have sniper, which gives you a X number of percent chance to make a shot that is guaranteed to cause damage to modules of an enemy vehicle. So basically, when you fire if you hit a module on an enemy tank, if this skill activates, which is right now which is anywhere from 1 in 100 to 6 in 100 times, this skill will guarantee that you damage a module of an enemy vehicle, which can be useful. However, it's not going to happen that often, so it's not going to be a guaranteed damage to modules. Then you have deadly accuracy, which again is a nice skill to have. However, there are other skills which are more critical. This increases your view range and aiming speed by X% if you're the only tank standing. So this skill, if you were just going to try and go for as many Colabanos medals as you can, this skill would be the most useful. However, again, in the average situation, this skill isn't going to help you. So, again, there are other skills which are better. Like, for example, this next skill, camouflage. This increases your concealment of your vehicle, also with the camouflage consumable. So, this skill is probably the most useful to have on your tank destroyers. Well, for most vehicles, just because except for heavy tanks, mostly because you can't be seen as easy. So, if you can't be seen, you have a better chance of ambushing the enemy, and you have a better chance of being the one who gets the first shot off. So, and in any engagement, you always want to be the one who gets the first shot off. So, this has a range of 3% to 18%. I have level 3 trained right now, as I don't play tank destroyers that often. But I will be working on this skill and one other one in the set for tank destroyers that are most useful to get up to max level first. Then you have clutch braking, which increases vehicle traverse speed by 2%. This again goes 1% to 6%. This is a useful skill. However, for the tanks that it would be most useful on, it provides such a small amount of increase to your traverse speed, it's almost not worth it. Like, for example, tanks like, I believe the KV-2 has like a 20 degree a second track traverse. This would be useful for it, but the 2% is going to give you like a 20.5 degree a second traverse. It's not, I mean, it may make the difference between life and death, but the odds are it's not going to help you that much. And then you have your really, really maneuverable vehicles, like, for example, the T-46, which has a very high, in upper 30s track traverse speed, which is nice, but then again, the more you increase this, the faster you can turn. However, the vehicle already had such a good track traverse, you don't really need to increase it that much. So this again is a nice skill to have, but it's not a necessary skill. The other skill in the tank destroyer line that I believe is the most important is smooth turn. This one decreases gun dispersion of turning vehicle by 2%. Now this is especially important for tank destroyers that have fixed guns that can't fire don't have turrets like the other tanks, where you have to actually turn your vehicle yourself to be able to fire at the enemy vehicles. And this is the most useful for those situations because you won't be able to. You'll have a greater chance of hitting the target the more you decrease your gun dispersion. So, if you take this skill, plus smooth ride and smooth turret traverse, so if you're making a turn, you're moving, and you got your turret turning, your odds are you're going to miss the shot. However, at these skills, you have a greater chance of doing so, which is why I recommend, at least for people who play with my play style, which is fast, hit the enemy, and then keep moving. This is probably the 3 most important skills for those people. Okay, but anyways, that's all for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the battlefield.